40 plot points for a classic narrative feature film. It starts again with a hook. We've already talked about that. Transition from real world into film world. Number 2 is a setup. Introduce protagonist and show what is normal. 3, enter antagonist, doing what they do best. Number 4, supporting characters. Show us different sides of the protagonist in the film world. So this is where you're just getting us into the story, and we've got the protagonist, we've got the antagonist, we've got the film world, we know what's happening. Then 5, plot goal defined or character wants. So this is the first plot goal is defined when a problem arises. The character says, I'm going to do this, or I have to do this. Theme goal defined, character need. You show how the character needs to change. You show the flaw or weakness. This is how they start. So if you're doing your character arc, this is where you start showing what needs to change. This could also be like a theme story. It's some sort of theme moment, but usually it's a theme goal defined for the character. Like, how do they need to change? What are they working on? The Gauntlet. This is show the protagonist fighting with the antagonist or other characters that have an opposite goal. So a gauntlet's like a series of tests that they go through to see what they're made of, one thing after another. Then you have a big first test. The protagonist may fail at the first test to show us their weakness. So if you're doing an arc, this is where you'd show what needs to change. Inciting incident, event that changes the status quo, what's normal. We've talked about that. This is where Act 2 starts. It's an exile or journey into the unknown. Protagonist leaves familiar world, sets off to accomplish plot goal. This is the beginning of Act 2 in a feature because we're at 10. So depending on how you do it, it's, if you're going to do the 1/6 version, your Act 2 would start a little bit earlier. But if you're going to do the traditional 1/4, fourth of 40 is 10. This is the official Act 2 begins in the old feature screenplay structure. So protagonist leaves familiar world and sets off to accomplish plot goal. 11, plot goals restated. Protagonist is expelled from the comfortable world and thrust into the unknown. Was the choice worth it? Theme moment or goals is number 12. State the theme of the film or character theme goals in relation to film theme. This is where you start using your metaphors and symbols to tell us about the theme. It could be about the character theme goal, or it could just be a story stating the theme of the film. But this is where you really start, developing the theme. 13, McGuffin. This is a term that Hitchcock coined. It's a random, freaky, unforeseen event that pushes the plot forward and shakes the protagonist out of reverie and forces him into action. So it's something that happens that just gets the story moving. Something, we'll see how this works in Finding Nemo in just a minute, but just know that it's something that makes the plot go forward. If your protagonist is trying to rescue the princess, it's like they get some message on where she is, and then they go off and find them. 14, investigation. Protagonist fumbles around in the dark to answer questions to accomplish the goal, plot goal. 15, meet mentor. A fully realized hero appears who is also a teacher, godlike titan, or supernatural being. So we saw this in the hero journey plot points, but we see mentors once again in over 80% of films, I would think. There's some sort of mentor. 16, acquire new tools or knowledge. New tools or information are found or given, usually by the mentor, but it could be from somewhere else. 17 is a joke. Relieves tension and shows protagonist's Achilles heel, maybe in a funny, lighthearted way. It's not like a character just tells a joke, but some sort of funny moment. And we're going to look at how to include funny moments in your story towards the end of this workshop. There's a whole list you can include. So just kind of leave the joke open now unless you think of one, but that's not one you're supposed to know about. 18, Foreshadow. Prepares audience for climax and resolution at the end of a film, either good or bad. And we'll talk more about foreshadowing later, but you already should know what your climax is, so how can you show us that? First theme success is number 20. Show character growth with small success related to theme. So if you're doing your arc, this is where you show them starting to change and they're having this is a good moment for them. 21, triumph first plot success. Protagonist accomplishes first plot goal. So maybe they had to go somewhere to get something and they got there and now they got it and have to go do something else. 22, betrayal. Treachery by supporting characters or own weakness. So this would be a good time to bring in a flaw or have some sort of twist happen where one of the characters turns, or, look at your twist list and look at your flaws and anything that your character's afraid of. Maybe they run into snakes. Something happens where there's a weakness or some sort of betrayal by another character. Or it could be themselves if they're their own worst enemy. 23, turning point, big twist, unexpected turn of events, usually against protagonist. Plot goal may change. You can refer to your list of twists to figure out one for that one. 24, torture, escape. See protagonist suffering. They will come out stronger and bigger, and then they get saved by using their special new skills in some surprising way. So we want to see them get really down and tortured. And 25, defeat. Protagonist loses previous triumph, added suffering. So they get defeated in some way. Maybe their plot goal isn't going that well and they're not in a good space right now. They're having a bad time. 26, reassess plot goal. Present situation is reevaluated. There's a new direction for the plot goal. This could be a new direction, or it could just be them saying the plan's not working and they have to come up with another plan, something like that. They have to think about their plot goal, or maybe they get something and they realize they have to do something else now. 27, theme success. Show theme goal growth. Theme moment with positive theme story told. So this is when you start using those metaphors and symbols, or you can show a character theme goal growth using the arc, them changing their hairstyles, or some sort of change is shown. Or you could combine them with a story for your film theme and show the character theme goal growth if they're arcing. 28, mentor disabled. Protagonist may need to go it alone at this point. The mentor is too old to fight, or he's shackled, maybe he's tied up, maybe they die, maybe they just aren't around. Maybe the protagonist is left them behind. 30, unique genre color or element. Second colorful example of genre element. And once again, you can combine this with another plot point. You usually don't just show a spaceship. Something's happening. 31, surrender. Pit protagonist against the impossible odds and have them decide the goal is unattainable. So this is where we get to watch the protagonist give up. They've just surrendered. They've just said, forget it. This isn't going to happen. People give up all the time and then they change their minds. So this is sort of plugging into that universal, I just can't do it anymore. It's not going to work out. I've tried. Their plans haven't worked out. Everything just fell apart. Everything they were thinking was going to happen is not happening anymore. 39, climax. Talked a lot about these. Protagonist defeats antagonist in moment of greatest intensity. Multiple stories converge here too. If you're doing two stories, which we'll see in Finding Nemo in just a moment, this is where they meet up. And if you are doing two stories, they usually split up at the inciting incident and then they meet up again at the climax. But they could also meet up in the middle of a twist or something like that. But they tend to follow the same plot points. And then they meet at this climax. Because remember, the climax is the moment of greatest intensity. And you really need to nail that or your film's going to feel flat. So everything needs to build to that. And 40, last but not least, is the resolution. Who lives, who dies, who gets the girl. For now, I want you just to fill in at least one idea for each of the 40 plot points in your workbook for your film story idea. You should already have some ideas about how you want to introduce your protagonist and antagonist, what the big twist is in the middle of the story, and what is going to happen at the climax, along with many of the other plot points listed here. We've already gone over a lot of these, so it's more just filling in things. Don't worry about the jokes if you can't think of anything, but everything else, you should be able to come up with something. And don't worry too much about the order they occur right now. I'd rather you just get the linear story down, and then you can chop it up later and kind of mess it up if you want to do postmodern, but get the linear story really solid before you do that.